What is up, guys? Pup T from Life, Liberty, and the Homestead. It's Friday, so you get a Liberty video. But, hang on one second before you click off, because I know in about a minute you're going to click off. Go ahead. You're going to see Baby Lulu's head pop up. Go ahead and follow that arrow right under her. Hit that subscribe button. Ring the notification bell. Smash the like button. I do appreciate it. Hey, if you don't like my videos, give it a thumbs down all day long. Leave comments. Y'all are wild. I love y'all. But let's get started in today's video. We're going to talk PTSD. PTSD. Yes, PTSD. Alright. I was diagnosed with PTSD in 2009, I believe, 2010, something like that. I did 2 tours in Afghanistan, 2 tours in Iraq. I'm not saying that's where I got PTSD. I'm not saying it's one specific event that got me PTSD. If anything, it was a culmination of a lot of stuff that happened throughout my career in the Army. All right, but I was medically retired after 16 years, and PTSD was one of the biggest things that got me, medically retired. So what I want to talk to you about today is, with PTSD, is my journey through it and what I did and how I am today. So, back when I got diagnosed with PTSD, I felt like I had a billboard on me. It was written across my forehead, had flashing neon lights behind me that said PTSD. So if I went anywhere, they would know, oh, this guy's got PTSD. He's crazy, right? Guys, that's so far from the truth. It's ridiculous. But that's the way I felt. So, it's been a struggle. I'm going to tell you right now, having PTSD is a struggle. I don't take anything that I've been through and what people call my successes for granted. Alright? It was hard work to get to where I am today. So in the beginning, they put me in group therapy with some guys, and we would talk about our experiences and stuff like that. And then we'd have to do these scales where we wrote out, this event's a number 5, and this one's a 2, and this one's a 10, and, all this stuff. Well, I'd always go back and say, it's not your fault. You can't do anything to change it. Yeah, okay, I hear you, but that's not the way I felt. But today, how I feel about that is, yes, I can't change that situation. It is the past. Even at the moment that it happened, there's nothing that I could do to have changed any of the circumstances that I was going through. But so what I do is I still take responsibility for not being able to, stop something, or I wasn't able to do enough, whatever it was, whatever is going on inside me. Is I know I can't change it, but I feel it's okay for me to take on some responsibility to it. That's me, though. I'm not saying that's going to work for you, but that's how I've dealt with it. And so as I was going through these group therapy, I got on a lot of medication. I was on Klonopin and Ambien and other stuff for depression, and then I broke my back and I had pain medications and all this stuff. But it got so bad for me that, like with Klonopin, I would take a Klonopin, walk out the front door, wasn't sure if I had taken one, go back, and then I would take another one and then leave. So I would be this zombie, right? All day just and it wasn't doing me any good. I thought it was at the time, but now looking back, that wasn't doing nothing for me except keeping me as a zombie. And then once I realized I had a problem, especially with Klonopin, I went and talked to my doctor, my therapist, my psychologist. And I said, look, we got to get me on something else. I was like, I like Klonopin, right? Because I'm this zombie. I said, but I'm taking so much right now, that I was going through 30 days in anywhere between 15 to 20 days because I felt like I needed it that much. So we adjusted my medications and got me better with that, so I could deal with the anxiety and depression, everything that goes along with PTSD, hypervigilance, and whatnot. So let's kind of fast forward to when I moved back to Illinois. I had been out of the Army for 2 or 3 years, I think, at the time, and I moved to Illinois, and I was still on medications. I came off Ambien, and I'll talk about that here in just a little bit. But while I was there, my counselor, I said, hey, I've been through this therapy where I'm constantly scoring stuff, and no, it's not my fault. I said, if that's what you're going to do, I'm not down for it. He said, okay. He said, I got something for you. It's immersion training. He said, what it does is it puts you in situations that you're uncomfortable, and you stay there as long as you can, and then you deal with it. I said, okay. I said, I'm down, I'm trying to get better, so let's do it. So I started immersion training. And with immersion training, for me, I started off at McDonald's. And I would go into McDonald's once a day in the beginning, and I could only stay for a minute and a half. And part of that is if you got PTSD and anxiety and stuff like that, like a lot of us will sit facing the door. A lot of us will know where all the exits are, all that type of stuff. Well, part of the immersion training was sitting with my back to the door. Now at McDonald's, there's a bunch of doors, so, you do what you can. But it was a great start. Then I moved into Walmart. Now, prior to the immersion training, when I would go to Walmart, I would know what aisle I was going to grab the items that I needed, and I would go to the cashier that I had already previously looked at as I was coming in to know that they were open, and I would get my stuff, and I'd get in that line, and I'd be out. And I could be out of Walmart in 2-3 minutes, depending on how long lines were. And this was before they had online where you could, shop for the items and just pick them up in your car, which is probably a good thing because I probably wouldn't have done the immersion training. But, so I would go into Walmart and I would just kind of walk aimlessly, or try to, right? In the beginning, it was tough. I'd be in there a minute and a half, 2 minutes, and I was out, right? Well, as I was going through the training, the immersion training, the one thing I knew is I had to give it a shot. And the only way I could give it a shot is if I pushed myself. So that's what I did. I would go in there, I'd go into Walmart, or I'd go into McDonald's, and I would stay as long as I could. And as soon as I felt like I couldn't stay any longer, I would force myself to sit there or walk around longer. Even if it was for 10 seconds longer, that's what I did. So, as it went on, I would also see my therapist, and I would tell him, hey, this is what's going on. This is how I feel. And he's like, great. So, I want to say I was in it for 4, 5, maybe 6 months. And he asked me, he goes, so what's your questions? And I don't remember the question that I asked him. He says you're done. I was like, what? He goes, I don't know how you did it. He said, but most people go through this immersion training for 12 to 18 months before they're at the stage that you're at let's just say 6 months. I said, well, the one thing is the only way I knew I could get better was by forcing myself to stay in these situations and dealing with it, and that's how I dealt with it. So once I went through immersion training, I started talking to my doctor about coming off of all my medications, which at the time, this doctor, he would say, oh, let's revisit it in a month. So finally, I did what you shouldn't do, as I said, okay, you want to revisit in a month? I'm just not going to order any more medications. I'm not going to take any more medications. And that's what I did. I quit cold turkey all my medications. I dealt with life as it came to me, right? But part of that is this is part of the Ambien story is I got on the internet and I used Mr. Google Pants and I would look up like Ambien and PTSD, and it tells you like it's not a good medication if you have PTSD because it's a sedative. It just knocks you out. You're not sleeping, you're just knocked out. And with PTSD, basically all your thoughts and stuff are going into this meat grinder, which is your brain, and it's clogged up. Normal functioning brains, everything goes and it goes to where it needs to go. But when you have PTSD, it gets clogged up. So all your thoughts and memories and stuff like that are stuck, and it's hard getting past it. So with what I saw with like the immersion training was the more and more I put myself in situations and coming off my medications, the more I was able to deal with it. You know, I struggle to this day with stuff, but I don't struggle as bad as I did when I was dependent on, medications or severely dependent on therapy and stuff like that. And while I went through immersion training, what started happening is where I used to be reclusive and I would stay away from my family, I wouldn't talk to nobody, is I started opening up and I started beginning to tell my story, things that I had went through and how I was feeling, and just getting that stuff off my chest with my family was wonderful, because now my support system that was always there, that I didn't feel that was there, but they were always there, I started reaching out to them. And I don't reach out to them much, but even if I just need to talk about, my dogs are driving me crazy, or, I'm tired of the rain, whatever it is, I can talk to them and get it off my chest, and it helps me deal with, all my anxiety and depression and stuff like that, like I said, goes along with PTSD. But I wasn't always the way I am today. I wasn't always happy and, kind of full of life. I was depressed. I was lonely. I didn't want to talk to nobody. But, with the help of my brother, who's just my best friend that I call my brother, we've known each other for 37, 38 years now. We're a bunch of old dogs, but, he really helped me just being there, just listening to me, and sometimes just telling me to shut up, and that's what I needed. And reaching out to my sister and telling her what was going on, and her just listening, she's a registered nurse, and she would just listen. She wouldn't say nothing. She would just listen, and I loved that. So, PTSD is not a death sentence, Anything that you're going through is not a death sentence. It's a point in life that you got to deal with, right? It's something that I try to tell people is, life is those ups and downs, right? When you're up, you can see everything. Like if you're looking at the world, you see the beautiful mountains, maybe the ocean, whatever you love, you see that stuff. But when you're down in those valleys, you don't get to see it. And you feel like you're never going to come back up. But I promise you, you'll come back up. It just may take some time. Maybe a little bit longer for you than it did for me. Or maybe it took me longer than it does you. But, stick with it. But if you feel like you're in trouble and you're in dire need and you do have thoughts of suicide, over my big old face is the whole suicide prevention line. Also, I'm going to go ahead and leave the text that you can text them, tell them that you need help, hello, okay, whatever you want to put into there, you can go ahead and do that. But you're not alone, guys. And you're going to struggle, and that's okay. Just stick with it. That's, the world's a better place with you in it. Don't forget. So, thanks for watching, guys. I love you, and I'll see you tomorrow.